Okay, so today we're looking at this whole basement beam repair thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we've got like all these different angles on it.
Yeah, we do.
We've got like the actual recordings of them doing the work.
Oh, it's fascinating to hear, right?
Yeah, and then we've got this timeline so we can keep all the people straight.
Yeah, the who's who.
And then there's like this briefing document too, which is kind of cool. Kind of pulls out like the main points.
I got the themes.
Yeah, exactly. The themes. And then we've even got like a study guide
A study guide.
with key concepts.
Wow.
It's pretty wild. And we've even got like quiz questions and everything.
That's thorough.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we're trying to do today is really like dig into all this stuff
Right. Yeah.
and see what we can learn from it. You know, all these discussions and the problems they run into and how they try to solve them. I
Exactly.
mean, it really makes you think, right? Like all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes
Absolutely.
when you're like fixing something in your house.
Like, you think it's simple, right? But
Right. Or to any kind of construction. I mean,
yeah, you don't see all the problem solving and the work that goes into it.
right. Exactly.
Like hidden. It's like an iceberg.
Exactly. So let's dive into this.
Let's do it.
So one of the things that really jumped out at me right away was in that basement beam repair project, audio.
Yeah.
And it's right at the beginning. Like, they're not messing around.
No, they're not.
They're like right to the point.
Urgent.
Yeah, someone says, and I'm going to quote this here. Right now, it's sitting on the rotten wood. This is sitting, is holding up, right, doing most of the job, right, doing all the job.
Whoa.
That's heavy.
Yeah, you can hear the seriousness in their voice, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just like, oh, we need to fix this. It's like, this is a major problem.
Right. This is like a core structural problem.
Exactly.
This isn't just like, oh, the faucet's dripping or something.
Exactly, yeah. This is like the foundation of the house.
Yeah. So it's serious business.
Yeah, and you can hear that in their voices, I think, right from the get-go.
Right away. So it seems like from the very beginning, they knew this was going to be a big project.
Oh, yeah.
And as you listen to them talking, you can really start to follow like their process.
Yeah, you get a sense of the step-by-step.
Yeah, like one of the first things they talk about is getting a jack
A jack, yeah.
to like lift up the structure.
Right, support it.
Yeah. And they even have this little conversation about where to get one.
Oh, yeah, where do they find a jack?
Yeah. They're like, get the jack. Okay, where do you get the jacket?
Right.
Back in worst case scenario, where do you get one? Home Depot.
Home Depot, of course.
Right. I mean, it's those little details, you know.
It makes it real.
Yeah, it's not just like a textbook.
No, it's real life.
Yeah, this is like what actually happens on a job site.
Exactly. Yeah, and then, they start talking about solutions, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
we got the jack now. What?
Right.
And we hear them talking about putting in these new beams.
Support beams.
Yeah, to like hold everything up.
Right. And there's this one part where they say, now this one right here is going in underneath too, because I got to sneak it in underneath, right? That's what he was saying, right?
Cheek it in.
Yeah, like it sounds like they're working in a really tight space.
Right, maneuvering these big beams around.
Yeah, it can't be easy.
No. And then, of course, they're talking about anchoring it all up.
Making it secure.
Yeah,
But-
that's the key, right? Anchor you it up.
Right. It's not enough to just stick a new piece of wood in there.
No, it's got to be solid.
Yeah, it's going to be attached properly.
Yeah, so that it actually supports the structure.
Right. And it's not all about just adding new stuff either.
Right.
They've got to deal with what's already there.
Exactly.
Like there's this part where they're talking about sawing wood.
Oh, yeah. Getting rid of the old rotten stuff.
Yeah, they're like, sneak across, take those 2 buckets off. We're going to saw it with the saw over here.
Always got to watch out for the buckets.
Right. And then there's another part where they're talking about cutting metal.
Metal, well,
Yeah. Also, we got to cut out that metal.
so it's not just wood they're dealing with.
Right, exactly.
There's probably like pipes or something in the way.
Yeah, who knows what's in there.
Yeah, you got to be prepared for anything.
And to make those new beams really strong,
Yeah.
they talk about using screws.
Screws.
Yeah, to like bind them all together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They say screw going through each other to make them strong. With which screws?
So they're really trying to make it solid.
Yeah, it sounds like they're using a lot of different techniques.
Right, like they're adapting to this situation.
Yeah, and it's not always easy.
No.
There are definitely some challenges.
Yeah, what kind of challenges?
Well, for one thing, it sounds like the existing structure is really uneven.
Oh, that's not good.
No, someone even says, so uneven that it will fit. You could get it up there. No, the wood is already so high.
So it's not just a straightforward replacement?
No, they're having to like really figure out how to make these new beams fit.
Right. It's like a puzzle.
And then they keep talking about having to sneak these beams into place.
Sneak them in again.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're working in a really tight crawl space.
Oh, man, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be down there.
No claustrophobia.
Yeah. And then you got to think about like pipes and other stuff that might be in the way.
Oh, yeah. The obstacles.
Yeah. So it's not an easy job.
That's complicated.
It is. But what's really interesting is how they deal with all these challenges.
Okay, how do they do it?
Well, it's not just like one person calling all the shots.
Okay.
It's really a team effort.
Teamwork.
Yeah, they're constantly talking to each other.
Collaborating.
Yeah, figuring out like, okay, what's the next step? How are we going to do this?
Right, bouncing ideas off each other.
Exactly. And you can really hear that in the recordings.
So it's like a problem-solving session.
Yeah. They're working together to find the best solution.
That's cool.
And there's this one part where they say something really interesting.
What's that?
They say, whatever's is easy, always do the easy stuff.
Sexy stuff first.
Yeah, and then they kind of explain it a little bit.
How so?
They say, guys, easy stuff first. Because the easy stuff, whatever you find, always keep easy. And then the hard part, forgetting you must be thinking about it right, becomes everything a break.
I see. So it's like a strategy.
Yeah, it's not just about being lazy.
No.
It's about like building momentum,
Okay.
getting some quick wins,
Right.
and maybe even learning more about the situation by dealing with the easy stuff first.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then when you get to the hard stuff, you're like more prepared.
You have a better understanding of the whole thing.
Exactly.
That's smart.
And it's not just about the work itself either.
Right.
There's also like a mentoring aspect to
Oh,
it.
yeah. Passing on knowledge.
Yeah, like there's this one part where someone's showing someone else how to use a tool.
Oh, cool. Like an apprenticeship.
Yeah, and they say, pick it up. You see how I chop it down? Don't chop it down like this. Pick it up like that.
So they're sharing their expertise.
Yeah, and that's really important on a job site.
Yeah, you want everyone to be safe and know what they're doing.
Exactly. And speaking of safety,
Uh-oh.
there's this one part in the audio that's kind of scary.
What happened?
Well, someone mentioned seeing a poisonous spider.
A spider. Yikes.
Yeah, they say, well, right now we saw a very poisonous spider on the truck on these pieces of wood. Yeah.
Wow. That's a hazard you don't always think about.
Right. Like when you think construction, you think like falling objects or power tools.
Right.
But spiders, I mean,
Yeah, that's a whole other level.
and they also talk about putting on gloves for bugs.
Oh, okay, so they're being cautious.
Yeah, and even just like remembering to have water on site,
Yeah, staying hydrated.
it all points to like a general awareness of safety.
Right, taking care of yourself and the people you're working with.
Exactly. So it's not just about getting the job done.
No, safety first.
Yeah, you got to stay safe when you're doing it.
Absolutely. And it makes you think, right?
About what?
Like this basement beam repair.
Yeah.
It's not just about this one house. It's kind of like a microcosm of construction work in general.
Yeah, like a little example of the bigger picture.
Exactly.
And when you look at the broader construction site dialogue,
Yeah.
you start to see some of those bigger themes emerge.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, there's this idea of accountability.
Okay.
Like someone says, well, they were lazy, including, or they were just very gross negligence with the wood.
So they're talking about the people who did the original work.
Yeah, and how maybe they didn't do such a great job.
Right, cutting corners.
Yeah, and that can have lasting consequences.
Oh, like rotten beams.
Exactly. And then there's this whole theme of having the right tools,
Yeah. You can't do the job without the right tools.
right? Someone even says, without the right tools, you can't do the job.
It seems obvious, but it's so true.
Yeah, and it's not just about like getting the job done.
No, it's about doing it right.
Yeah, and doing it safely.
Exactly. And they talk about using photography too.
Photography.
Yeah, for documentation. Someone says, so your lawyer's going to be like, look at this shit. Right then I'm going to be like, this is not so much approval on it so that they can't talk.
So it's like for legal reasons?
Yeah. Or maybe just to like prove that they did the work properly.
Right, like a record of what they found.
Exactly. And also to show the condition of things.
Yeah, before and after.
Yeah. So there's no disputes later.
That's smart.
Yeah. And even with all the serious stuff,
Yeah,
there's still like a human element to it.
right.
Like the timeline mentions anecdotes and shop talk.
Yeah, like stories and jokes.
Right, like that thing about Mark and Brian's game.
With emails, yeah.
It's like they're building camaraderie,
Right.
making the work environment more fun.
Yeah, and it's not all just like technical talk.
No, they're connecting as people.
Exactly. And they even talk about history a little bit.
History?
Yeah, like Rome not building its own roads
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
and brick making.
Okay.
It's not directly related to the repair,
No.
but it kind of gives it a broader context.
No. Yeah, like a historical perspective.
Yeah, and it shows that they're thinking about these things.
Right. They're not just robots.
So what does this all mean for the listener?
Yeah. Why should we care about a basement beam repair?
Right. Well,
Uh-huh.
I think it shows us that even in something as specific as this,
Yeah.
you can see these really universal principles at play.
Okay, like what?
Well, like problem solving.
Right.
They're constantly running into problems and they have to figure out how to solve them.
And they have to do it under pressure.
Exactly. And teamwork.
Yeah, they're constantly talking to each other, relying on each other.
Right. And communication is key.
Yeah, you can't do this kind of work in isolation.
And then there's this idea of addressing underlying issues.
Right, getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah. And that's not just in construction.
No, that's in life too.
Yeah, like if you're having problems in a relationship,
Or at work.
you got to figure out what's really going on.
What's causing the problem?
Exactly. And then you can start to fix it.
Yeah, and this whole deep dive, it makes you think about all the hidden complexities in the world.
Right.
Like, we take for granted the structures and systems around us.
Yeah, like the buildings we live in, the roads we drive on.
The electricity that powers our homes.
Yeah. And we assume that everything's just going to work.
But there's so much work that goes into making that happen.
And so many people involved.
Yeah, it's a whole network of people and systems.
And this basement beam repair, it's just a small example of that.
Yeah, but it's a powerful example.
It shows us what it takes to keep things running smoothly.
The skill,
Yeah.
the problem solving, the human interaction.
It's all connected.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder,
What's that?
like, what other hidden complexities are out there?
What else are we taking for granted?
Yeah, what other things are just waiting to break?
That's a good question.
Something to think about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.